Hi, I'm Drew.
And I'm Sam.
And welcome to Drewling Samantics.
Oh, I don't mean to interrupt you mid-sentence there, mate. I'm sure what you're reading is interesting, but am I really that boring, or were you just waiting?
No, I'm just. It's a very good book, and something I haven't read before. So I was just. Yeah, sorry.
That's really right. I'm aware that for the first time, probably in ever of doing this, I'm the one that's slightly late. But just twisting the knife a little bit, going, well, you're so late. I'm just going to sit here and read a book.
Well, I just out of spare 5 minutes amongst a bit in a busy week, I thought I'd catch up. Yeah,
Well, yeah, very true. But anyway, how are you, mate? Has it been a good one?
It has. Yes. Very good. Rehearsal's going well. So yeah,
Excellent.
all good.
Oh yes,
all
of
good,
course,
mate.
because we're leading up to half-term shows and yada yada. Yes.
Yes. Well, our adaptation of Hansel and Gretel. So how about that?
Ooh.
So there you go.
Very
Yes.
fancy indeed. Is it Hansel and Gretel? Is it Brothers Grimm or is it East?
There's now it's interesting because I've read one version, and then when we were writing the script, Ryan said, "Oh, we can't forget the bit about that," and I went, "I didn't know that. Didn't know that's not in the story I read." So, and then there are loads of them, and there are loads of different adaptations and different takes on it, and so we've found one that kind of had all the elements that we both recognised, and most people recognise, and so but we've had to, classically, there's no spoilers here. The witch gets pushed into the oven and burnt. Yes. It's kind of like that's a bit grim. And the evil stepmother, sort of buggers off. We thought, no, we might have to make it a little bit more user friendly.
Yeah.
But there was a Brothers Grimm. There's an even older story than that, goes right back to medieval times. Oh, wow. And they're all sort of, tales of morals and and also that it has its basis in, there was, a pestilence in the land. So everyone was hungry. And people were eating their children. So,
wow.
People, they turned to cannibalism. Or they would just go and walk the children in the middle of the woods, give them something to eat and bugger off and leave them there. So the whole story, is based around fact. Even though it's been, there you go.
Well, learn something new every day. And then it's funny you're talking about kids shows because during the week I was lucky enough to go and see the Hercules, the musical. So the musical adaptation of the Disney cartoon / film, whatever you want to call it. Bloody fabulous. Really, really good. Amazing. Excellent. To see it taken from, it was already musical because most Disney is already musical.
Yeah.
Songs in it, but obviously to go from animated to real life, albeit a story that existed long before Disney did it, because it's all about sort of very, very traditional old school Roman gods. And is it Romans or Greeks?
Greeks. I think it's Greek myth. Yeah,
it's Greek. Yeah. Confused myself there, but yeah, so amazing. And actually, mate, it got me thinking, and I thought we could have a bit of a chat. And actually, it's no good saying that because you've done preparation as well. It's no good making it out like I've just come up with it. It was a real nice coincidence that I went to see the show and we decided to record this one this week. But we're going to talk about adaptations and books that became films, that became musicals, that became plays, and all different sort of iterations of that. Because it's really quite fascinating, isn't it? That you don't necessarily think about where something starts unless you're already aware of it. Would you say, like?
Yeah, you do sometimes. You see a film and you think, you read something and you think, oh, that'd make a great film. But sometimes you look at a film or a stage play, a musical, and you go, I didn't know that was a book before, or I didn't know that was a film before it became. You know what I mean? And it's you think, well, I'll have to read that or I'll have to watch that. And it's funny, sometimes you just have no idea
No, absolutely. Like it's learning where things came from, and and I mean we've talked before about sort of reboots and stuff that has been done again, albeit in a slightly different way or just a more modernized way. But I guess this is a bigger extension of that because you're talking about stuff that was in one format. Because face it, if you go back far enough, written was probably the only format you could have of stories, aside from being told in person, but that's not really marketable. And it's just with the world changing that stuff has become more visual in film or TV, or now with streamed media, stuff can be done all the time, and documentaries, true life stuff, recreations of things. But yeah, no, so did a little bit of looking into things, and I found it quite fascinating how many things are not the original, if that makes sense.
I know what you mean.
But what I did do was sort of, I've got some lists of stuff together, and obviously, my background is musical theatre. That's my sort of main thing, if you like. So I've looked into musical theatre, and we'll go to some of the stuff you've done because I know you've looked more about sort of written like novels,
books to film, etc.
But I thought, why don't we have a little bit of a quiz to kick off? Because I know you often do this for me, and I quite like it. But I thought I'd flip it round. Would you like to try and tell me if I gave you some names of productions or stories, for want of a better word? I wonder if you could tell me what came first, the film or the musical. Now, don't get me wrong, some of the films are still musicals, but I'm talking about like proper, like physical productions. You could have gone to the West End or on Broadway or
sort of stage musicals.
Yeah, proper stage musicals, and then films which had a cinema release. Or modern days, I suppose you could include stuff that goes straight to sort of stream media or what have you. But most things now, most things I'm going to go into had a cinema release at some point. And it's funny because I do a lot of reviewing, and I like to go to the theatre as much as possible. I'm also going to see Beetlejuice later this year. I've got tickets booked for that. And that's the first one I'm going to ask you, mate, because I think it's quite an easy in. So Beetlejuice, what came first? Was it the musical or was it the movie?
I would have to go with the movie.
Absolutely correct. Yes. I mean, I looked into that one. There doesn't seem to be anything prior to the movie from what I've seen, and people feel free to write to us or message us and correct us if we get some stats wrong here. But from our research, what we are going to volunteer is true to the extent that we know. But Beetlejuice, I think, was just written as a standalone screenplay. So yeah, it wasn't based on anything. It's not like an old wives' tale or an old fairy tale or something like that. Beetlejuice was this brand new thing that they wrote. Was it 80s, 90s? Can't remember off the top of my head. But
I might go for 80s, I think. But
yeah, certainly
the age of Michael Keaton.
30 odd years ago, if not more.
Yeah.
And yeah, but then was turned into a musical probably 10 years ago now, because it wasn't hugely well received on Broadway from what I remember, but it's come to the UK for the first time despite trying for about the past 5 or 6 years. I think because I remember seeing the castings going out, and I think it was around about 2019 2020, because I think it got halted because of the unwelcome guest. So it's been a long time coming, but I'm really looking forward to that one. But yeah, so there was a nice easy start
easy in.
What about let's go for Calendar Girls. Yeah, see, that one's thrown it at you.
Now, I know I'm going to go movie first.
So actually, it was a little bit of a trick question. I've been a bit mean there. Yes, the movie came before the musical, but where did the movie come from?
Television.
Number one, it's based on true events, but actually, it was a Tim Firth play before it was the film, and then became the musical. So that's why Tim Firth's been involved at all. But yes,
I forgot that was a play. Yes, of course,
exactly. So there's a good one for you. Right, what about Cabaret?
Oh, that's an interesting one because it is a movie, but before going to stage, I'd say movie first.
So, Cabaret was a film before it was a musical. But the film was
a musical
on a play, which was based on a novel. So we've got 4 sort of levels there, back and forth. And
was that novel Christopher Isherwood? Was that?
I think it may have been.
Yeah,
I've got limited notes because otherwise I could have had a whole book here.
Yeah,
but yes, certainly. So the novel was loosely adapted into the play, which was then turned into the film, and then they've more recently than the film itself.
Yeah,
and I think there may have been a second version of the film, or a more modern version of the film as well.
Yeah, there's been a couple. Because they filmed the stage play, and so yeah.
And don't get me wrong, there are quite a few examples of that as well.
Yes.
So,
yes.
For example, Hamilton, there actually isn't, as far as I'm aware, a Hamilton movie, but you can watch a recorded version of the staged musical.
Yeah.
Okay, what about Kinky Boots?
I would say it was a stage play before, or a stage musical before movie.
So Kinky Boots did indeed turn into a musical, but after the film, Drew.
Oh.
So the film preceded the actual stage musical. However, Kinky Boots as a film is based on true stories. So a true story that was then adapted to be filmed. So it wasn't quite a documentary, but it had elements of as they always do, where something's a true story, they elaborate and stuff. But no. So my notes suggest, Drew, that the musical came after the film on that one.
Film.
I'm going to go another one. West Side Story.
I think that was a film first.
It was, yes. So West Side Story was a film. The musical came shortly after that. Then there's been a much more recent West Side Story film.
Yeah, a remake,
but where did that come from, Drew, originally?
Oh, that's Romeo and Juliet.
There we go. Yes, so it technically is based on a play. So it went play, film, musical, film in theory. Again, loosely based on Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. But so many things you could look back and atone to one of Shakespeare's plays. Okay.
I did look at that actually because I looked at who spawned movies. One of the most prolific is Stephen King, but we'll get onto him in a minute. But Shakespeare, obviously, and I've looked as well because if you look back at Shakespeare, I'm gonna look at my notes. I mean, there have been so many Romeo and Juliets, so many. Like if you look at like Romeo and Juliet, 1968 was the Zeffirelli movie, and that there was so many controversies around that. But also the wonderful thing about Romeo and Juliet 1968, it starred someone who wrote one of my favourite movies. Is Bruce Robinson played Benvolio in that, and Bruce Robinson went on to write With Nail and I and How to Get Ahead in Advertising. So he became, after being in the movie, he wrote With Nail and I in 1987, produced it, and of course you got one of the most popular versions of Romeo and Juliet was Leonardo DiCaprio, and Claire Danes, and that was in 1996. So it's a long way between
making me feel old.
But it's extraordinary. And then Henry V, and those, like the Olivier version in 1944. I mean, Laurence Olivier was, obviously he played Henry, and he was also the director. And then another popular version that was the Ken Branagh in 1989, and he was the lead and the director in that. So it's interesting how those two, and Branagh at that time was a very young actor. He was fresh out. He was he was good. But suddenly there was this huge, furore around him, and that, and it's like, wow, that they gave him this enormous film. But also I know there's a couple of little things off. In the 1989 Henry V, Christian Bale played Robin the Luggage Boy. How about that?
Was that his first foray into film?
What happened to Christian Bale? I mean,
Yeah, it's such a shame. From there, just nothing really did after that, did he?
No. But there are so many. I mean, if you look at the adaptations of Othello, and all the stuff that went from Shakespeare to film to and then musicals. You got Kiss Me, Kate. Loads of a really rich vein of and of course you've got Shakespeare in the 1600s, and then we've had hundreds of years since then to make movies.
Exactly.
But one of the interesting things I mean, because I went for some big movies, and they were very obviously books first. I mean, Gone with the Wind, that was Margaret Mitchell novel, and some of these were filmed very quickly after. And nowadays, the adaptations happen very quickly after.
Yeah.
Because the book was published in 1936. The film was released in 1939/1940. It was made in 39. So it was only sort of like 3 or 4 years that it was, optioned, filmed, made, released. Same with To Kill a Mockingbird. The book was in 1960. The film was made in 1962.
Wow.
So, obviously people have gone, this is a great book in it. And obviously the political situation that time with that book. But Wuthering Heights, that was written in 1847. The film was made in 1939. Then there was a remake in 1992. Now we've got 2026 with Jacob Elordi and Margot Robbie. That'll be an interesting one. I haven't watched. Yeah. It's got something. But there's, it's like these big... And everybody, the interesting thing about Wuthering Heights was everyone thinks it's a bit of a shitty book. It's our only book as well. And then we're going, but it's not very good, is it? It's a bit naff.
Yeah.
A lot of bloody films been made.
Exactly.
And musicals as well. There's been a musical of Wuthering Heights as well.
Yeah.
Not a terribly good one, but it's really interesting.
Yeah. I'm gonna throw a couple more at you from my list.
Go.
Just because they're particularly interesting. Annie.
That's interesting. I think it was I would say a book, film, stage play, no musical.
You couldn't be more wrong on that one, mate, and I love you for it. So interestingly, Annie, and you weren't going to get this element of it, but Annie started out as a comic strip.
Oh, of course.
The first appearance of the character,
Little Orphan Annie.
Exactly. But
God, yes.
Then into a play and a musical, followed by, to count now, 3 films, I think. I want to say 82 was the first one. Then there was one in 99, I think, and then much more recent, about 10 years ago, 2014, 2015, something like that.
Yeah.
But there are obviously other versions of that. Other examples of that. Bye Bye Birdie was made into a couple of different films, but that was based on a musical. Les Miserables, obviously based on very, very old French works, then turned into the musical from a play. Then there are multiple versions that were filmed from stage, but equally then you had was it 2012?
Yeah, I can't remember what that was.
Yeah. Here's another one that I wanted to bring up: Matilda.
Isn't that a children's story? Isn't that Roald Dahl?
Roald Dahl, yeah, wrote the book.
Is there a film of that?
There are 2 Matilda films. It was a book.
Yeah.
It was then turned into a film. I seem to remember, and don't quote me on this, a bit like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Roald Dahl was very unimpressed by the film because they Americanized it.
Yes.
It was Danny DeVito and his wife, and I can't remember her name for the life of me right now.
Oh, I know who you mean.
Rita Perlman, is it?
Yes. She was in Cheers for years.
And they were fabulous, and I'm not questioning that at all. But obviously, there were Americanized elements to it and stuff like that. Being that the whole film was set in America at that point, and they changed a few things. But But then it was then turned into a musical. It was Tim Minchin, wasn't it? Did the music
Yes.
for the
Yeah,
musical.
the book and the music.
Was then turned into the musical, and then there was a musical film made of it based on the musical. So it's gone back and forth a bit.
Wow.
And the last one, before we move on to something slightly different, and I'll let you jump. Oliver. You must know all the sort of progression of Oliver.
Well, that surely must be that must be the novel for Dickens.
Yes, of course. Dickens. Yeah.
Then I'm thinking. I mean, novel film, like Lionel Bart's film next, and then stage.
No, the musical came before the film.
Stage before the film.
I think Oliver has been done 2 or 3 times as a movie. It's certainly,
yeah.
And I want to say,
it's because Lionel Bart wrote Oliver the stage play, and then yes, of course,
exactly
the stage musical.
that. Yes,
of course.
So, and then you've got some other fun facts like Dear Evan Hansen was a film based on a musical, but the film stars, and it completely vanished me his name, but the original, they brought him back for the film, even though he's now like nearly 40 or in his 40s.
Yeah, I can't think of his name.
But he was the original in that. So he'd done the musical. And one that I want to mention, just because I love it, is School of Rock. You obviously know which way round that came.
Film musical.
Absolutely. But because, and I don't know if you've seen the musical, but at the start of it, Andrew Lloyd Webber, there's a Andrew Lloyd Webber voiceover where he talks about he wanted to do it for years and fought for years and years to get the rights to turn the film into the musical. So that's just quite an interesting one. But so I'm going to hand back over to you. Talk a bit more about books and stuff, because I know that's where you've gone on this route.
Yeah,
I've got one more thing I want to come to later.
Okay, I was just. I mean, there are massive franchises come from books. I mean, obviously, and I'm not going to talk about it because I don't know anything about it. But I mean, Harry Potter is probably the biggest, book film franchise of recent years.
Only if you don't take Bond as a book-based franchise. That's the only one where I might slightly argue. But even now, I think probably Potter has overtaken it, I would think. Yeah,
I mean, I think, yes, Bond, that's a very good point about the Bond. Yeah, because I think sometimes they're writing books to be. I mean, I don't know how many books, Ian Fleming wrote, but they've all been done, and then they're writing, so they've taken the character and written for the character.
But I would also say, I imagine anyone you mentioned Harry Potter to would know it was a series of books. It's famous for being a series. Whereas I would say probably most do know, but some wouldn't realise that Bond is a series of books. I think that's. I guess because it's done in a slightly different way as well.
Yeah, I think people that Bond fans will know. But you ask people who wrote, most people will know it was Ian Fleming, but they probably wouldn't know how many books he wrote that were turned into movies before they started writing the movies. Which is,
I think, if you were to go, if you did a survey, more people would know the name J.K. Rowling than they would Ian Fleming. I think
probably
on
yes,
that level.
yeah.
But is that just because of the era we're in? Maybe.
I mean, yes, and also, that if you ask people what was the very first, Bond movie, and there was always questions around that because there were several adaptations of several, But also thinking, Harry Potter, that was written fairly recently. And then was turned into a movie, quite quickly.
Yes.
And then you go back to, I'm looking at books. I mean, Tolkien, Lord of the Rings, that was published in 1954 and 55. Now, Fellowship of the Ring was the first film, was made in 2001.
2001.
Now,
I was going to say, was it 03? But I guess Return of the King must have been 03.
Yeah, well, we got Fellowship of the Ring was. Yeah, it was over 2001, Two Towers 2002, Return of the King 2003. So they took it, And I was looking at that thing, and there have been stabs at making, versions of Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, and there have been sort of, bad animations. There's been, audio books.
But I was thinking as well, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was our friend. Yeah, that was on tour for a long time. The Hobbit, the Hobbit. But I was thinking about some of these books can only be made well. Now we've got the technology. If you think of, you think of how well, Lord of the Rings was made, like it or loathe it, it was a fabulous piece of cinematography, which is now 25 years old, which is mad, extraordinary.
Insane.
It's horrible. I mean, and now technology has gone even further, but I was looking at, like Dune. Dune was made in, 1984. And then, of course, we had a 2021, 2024, and then there's going to be third part released this year or 2027. So, originally the Frank Herbert book made in 1994 with Carl McLaughlin and Patrick Stewart as well was in Dune.
He's the only person I can think of that's older than you.
Like, I mean, he's been around. He's been around forever and done so much stuff. But that was in 1984, and everyone hated it. And they made it, they made it again in 2021, and it still wasn't a terribly good movie.
Yeah, the second one was supposedly a lot better, wasn't it? Like, got better.
Yeah. I mean, there are some things you think, well, can you film that? I mean, but then you look at something like 2001: Space Odyssey, with dancing spacecraft and monkeys and obelisks and things like that. And an amazing film. Nobody knows what it's about, but it's absolutely visually stunning. Yeah. I mean, now that was made many years ago. Imagine making it now. What you could do now.
You do with things.
Exactly.
And the turnover as well, because we were talking about films coming out quite quickly. Films take a lot longer to make now, I think, or they certainly sort of look at. It's a bad example because it's ridiculous, but Avatar's been being made for nearly as long as I've been around. But you look at stuff like it's a good 2-3 years of solid filming and editing and producing from when they start doing something. Whereas actually you look at some of the stuff, this is a book, we're going to make it to a film. So go back sort of 50s, 60s, 70s. It was a year later and there it was.
Yeah.
And I think the filmmaking process, because they can do so much more now on a creative level because of technology. Weirdly, technology has sped things up, but by giving more options has slowed things down in a way.
Is this because whether all that is actually making it any better, or whether we're just making it because we can? I mean, the other thing I looked at is, it's my guilty pleasure is the Hunger Games. I mean, I came into it very late, and now that was a great piece of just telling the story, a really good piece of storytelling. There's not masses of special effects and stuff in that. I mean, it's a big movie, but you've not got the special effects to say that there's in The Hobbit or Dune or any of
the Marvel films.
Like a really good movie. I mean, there you go. You were talking about the Marvel thing. They're all cartoons. They're all
it's all from comics.
Yeah. So but I was looking at what was the other thing? How about it? And then there are plays, and I was looking at obviously we mentioned Shakespeare, and Streetcar Named Desire was it was first performed in 1947, and then the film was produced in 1951. That's 4 years later, but there was a real resistance to making the movie.
Really?
Yeah, and there was a lot of I don't know why, and I think it's because Tennessee Williams was famously homosexual, he was gay, and there was all this visit. Can we make a gay man? Well, you put it on you put it on Broadway, for God's sake. It's already been in front of hundreds of thousands of people.
Yes, but Broadway quite famously popular with the
well, that's true. That's true. Yes.
Yeah, but I'm obviously being facetious.
But it's like politics reared its ugly head then and said no. And it was a gamble by the film studio, and then of course it went on then to be stunning, and the movie was just extraordinary. But another one that is a spawned a franchise now is Wizard of Oz.
Yes.
Now, the Wizard of Oz, the film was made in the play. There was a play in 1902.
Yeah.
So the book was 1900s. The book was written by Frank Baum really early, Then there was a play in 1902. The film wasn't made until 1939,
Okay,
which is
which is good.
interesting.
I'm hoping you'll have this. I'm not sure whether you will. Was that still before the novel Wicked? Do you have the date of that?
I don't, but I think
that was later, wasn't it? Because I had Wicked down on the list because obviously it's been two major movies in the last couple of years, clearly based on the musical. But that musical is based on a book, which was an alternate look at The Wizard of Oz, which was a film, a musical, and a book, and a play, and everything.
Yeah.
So,
and interestingly as well, Frank Baum, he wrote 13 more Oz books.
13?
Yeah, 13. But the publishing house continued to write Wizard of Oz and Oz-related books 30, 40 years after Frank Baum's death.
Wow.
They kept writing the books. So not only did it spawn some great movies that then went on to spawn, a franchise that we know now, there was more books. And there was audio books and audio, adaptations, cartoon adaptations. So
Wizard of Oz is a pantomime.
Exactly. Yeah, but let's get on to the elephant in the room, Stephen King. I mean, I've got down here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. There are 15 here, big ones. There's probably another 10 that have been turned into films as well. Yeah. So if you think going way back, 1976, Carrie, Salem's Lot, 1979, The Shining, 1980. Massive. And Creep Show, 1982, Cujo, which is a great film. Dead Zone, 1983, Christine, which I think is a fabulous film, 1983, Children of the Corn, 1984, Stand By Me, 1986.
Why did I not think that Stand By Me was him?
I never think it's bad because it's such a cheerful film. It's such a lovely film.
Yeah, I guess it's just a completely different take on things. But
yeah, The Running Man, Pet Sematary, It in 1990. Of course, there have been
and then
several
two more since, haven't we?
Exactly. Misery, 1990. And then we get onto the biggies, which are Shawshank Redemption, novel 1982, made into a film 1994.
Yeah.
And then the novel of Green Mile, forget it's him.
Yeah.
I mean, probably one of the greatest films ever made, to be honest. Novel 1996, Green Mile 1999.
Both of those turned into stage productions.
Exactly. They've spawned stage shows.
Yeah.
So but there are more. I mean, all those. I mean, yes, admittedly, there is that genre of, horror, if you like, but I mean, if you look at the films, I mean, Carrie, I mean, that launched Sissy Spacek's career. After that, she's stunning. I mean, you look at, and The Shining. I mean, these are era-defining films,
So it goes to show that something can start anywhere and end up anywhere, but it can have these incredible moments along the way.
Yeah.
Now, we've only got a couple of minutes left, but I'm going to throw one more thing at you. So we sort of briefly mentioned it and kind of mentioned it at the start. Animated movies that became musicals. Now, I have, and I'm sure there are more, and I'm sure I've missed some big ones, but when I went through it, I have 12 animated movies that have become big musicals. Like the movie was massive, and the musical was either very successful or is quite new or what have you.
Right.
But certainly well known. If I said to you, first of all, most of these animated movies were made by who? Disney.
Yeah.
I am going to challenge you with these last couple of minutes. Of the 12 I've got in front of me, 2 are not Disney originated. Can you think of an animated or cartoon or not humans, like a generated, that became a musical, big musicals, both Broadway and West End and all over the world, but they are not originated from a Disney story, Disney film, and then obviously Disney came from all over.
Yeah.
So they're all like traditional tales and what have you. But can you think of any that aren't Disney? So throw some names at me, and obviously most of them will be Disney. But
I'm going to go Beauty and the Beast.
Beauty and the Beast is Disney, yeah. Which turned into a real life. What do they call it? What's the word I'm looking for? Where it's actually people.
Live action.
Live action, thank you. So Beauty and the Beast obviously has been live action as well as a cartoon, and is also a pantomime and a stage play.
But isn't written by Disney.
Not originally, but the cartoon that everyone remembers is
Right.
the Disney
Okay.
cartoon.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
I was just being picky there.
Yeah.
Let's say Cinderella, Lion King.
I'll narrow it down. So I'll give you recent musicals based on Disney: 101 Dalmatians, Aladdin, Frozen, Hercules, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Lion King, Little Mermaid, Prince of Egypt is one people quite often forget.
Gosh, yes.
And Tarzan. Those are probably the biggest ones I thought of. There are two that I've not mentioned. Interestingly, both begin with S. Neither of which are Disney.
Oh, go on, put me out of my misery because I could be.
But do you remember we had the lovely Leo Abad on the show?
Yeah.
And he's a musical star doing all sorts of amazing things. Can you remember what he was in?
Oh God, I'm going to be.
Big
go on,
green fella.
Oh, Shrek.
Shrek. Not a Disney movie.
Not a Disney.
No, exactly. And the other one, we had the lovely Reese on at the time he was in this. And weirdly, another colourful character, a bright yellow character this time.
SpongeBob.
So there you go. Please, people listening and watching, do get in contact and tell us some others. But from my brief research, those are the only two I could come up with, really sort of traditional animated movies or cartoons or what have you that aren't Disney. But yeah, what a chat that was, mate.
Just one last thing to finish. I mean, video games have spawned movies.
Oh God, it's an entire.
That was the other one, and toys like Lego.
Yeah,
like video games like Mario, Assassin's Creed. There are dozens of them. Lego movies. It's like what is left to turn into a film or a stage play. But as you say, sorry to interrupt you. No. Brilliant chat, brilliant, mate.
And we could have gone on for hours on this. There's so much more we could have covered, but we don't want to bore people to death completely. Feel free to go out and do your own research as well. There's so much interesting stuff to see from this, to find out, and yeah, just it's nice to sort of look into these things and go, well, hang on, I've always loved that film, that play, that book. I had no idea it was also a film, a play, a book.
Yeah.
And it's just there are some great ones in there, but no, fabulous. much enjoyment had there, mate. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Fantastic.
And now we prepare for next week, where we have a guest. And can I say, what a guest? What a guest!
I think you can. I don't think this is an episode anyone should miss because I mean I think we have it needless to say we have chatted and met this guest. And I think it's one of my favourite episodes, mate. Yes. It was stunning, is all I can say.
Yeah, really good fun. So,
great.
Until then, everyone, have a wonderful week. Drew, best of luck, because obviously you're performing next week.
Cheers,
so I hope
mate.
that all goes well. I'll speak to you. But everyone else, take care. We'll see you later on.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks again for watching this episode of Drewling Samantics.
Please make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video.
Don't forget, we're also available as audio only. Just search Drewling Samantics in any good podcast app. And please support us on social media. All our links and handles are on screen now.
We love welcoming new followers and subscribers, so why not share with your family and friends so they can join in too? Thanks very much. See you next time.